Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to my channel. My name is Joanna, and I am here to be of service to you. How? By helping you recognizing your true self. The self that lies beneath that which you know, or that which has been programmed into you. So if you are here, chances are you are looking for ways to re-establish yourself, to free yourself from something or someone. Generally, it's from yourself. And you are likely here because you are reaching out to the universe in order to receive some help about something. Generally speaking, that is why we watch these type of material. They're asking me to say my honest truth about why I do what I do. I don't know why they're asking me to do that, but they're asking me to share that with you. I have no problem with that whatsoever. I do it because I love what I do. Do I do it for you? I believe you benefit from me doing what I love. And there's a message in that. And I will not try to cut it into pieces and give you my own spin of what the message means. I would rather you tune into this insight and draw your own conclusion what that means to you. To me, it's very obvious, but there are many things that are very obvious to me that are not obvious to other people. In fact, that's why I do what I do. And whatever is obvious to me is coming from a higher space of awareness, a different frequency, let's say. And in order for me to be of service to you, which, by the way, is what I love to do, I have to be able to see you from a different perspective than you see yourself. And at the end of the day, as we all know, everything is about perspective. What you deem yourself to be, or that which is your perspective of you or about you, will give you a corresponding experience. So in order for me to offer you information that will be helpful in you freeing yourself, I have to see you from a different perspective. That is what gives me the advantage of seeing you who you really are, underneath your struggles, underneath your own anguish, so that I can help you understand who you really are, and perhaps the reason why you are here on this earth. And what I'm being guided to say, and I'm getting chills as I feel this message coming through, you and I and everyone who lives on planet Earth is here to love and connect. How we do that, to the capacity that we will allow ourselves to do that, is all based primarily on our conditioning. In other words, you cannot see yourself fully for the love that you really are, because the way you see yourself is based on conditioning. And in order for me to expose this conditioning within you, I have to have a different view of it. I have to have a different perspective of it, a higher perspective. So in short, my greatest joy is to share with you a different kind of perspective. One that will ultimately allow you to free yourself from your own struggles, from your own pain, from your own inner conflict. And I couldn't possibly do it if I didn't understand and see and be aware of my own inner conflict. In other words, For me to be able to do what I do, I have to know myself beyond the inner conflict that I deem myself to be. To put it differently, in order for me to show you the amazement that you are, I have to see it within myself. And that requires me to clean my glasses, if you will, or the lenses through which I see. So today's transmission is going to be about helping you look at some of the things that you might want to look at in order so that you can release it, in order so that you can see it, in order so that you can look at it. Primarily it's to do with programming, in order so that you can go, okay, so this is my current programming. I didn't know about that before, but now I choose to experience a different life. Therefore, in order for me to experience a different life, a different version of my 3D experience, I have to look at my own programming. Because your own programming programs your 3D experience. So if you're unfulfilled, if you're unhappy, if you are not as joyous as you could be, if you are feeling lost, if you are neglecting yourself, if you are limiting yourself, and if you're watching this, you are limiting yourself because you're a human being. If you're doing all of that and you're unaware of it, there is no way you're going to change it. So let's look at the messages the universe has for you in order to help you reshape your own life. They're giving me a funny metaphor. It's like giving your hair a conditioning treatment. You put a whole bunch of stuff on it, you keep it there for a while so that the hair is reconditioned, and then you rinse out and your hair feels softer, smoother, healthier. So this information that will be coming through is going to be hopefully like the conditioner for your hair, except this is conditioner, some softening agent for your entire being, for your body, for your physical, mental, spiritual, emotional bodies. Okay? So the message the universe wants you to know right off the bat is this: you are more than enough already. I've talked about this before, and it seems to be a very hard concept for people to grasp, including myself. Why? Once again, we're talking about conditioning. We are conditioned, programmed to think and believe that we are somehow not enough. And then if we deem ourselves not enough, then we'll try to chase whatever it is going to make us be enough or feel enough. So we become externally driven. And that is a bit of a problem, if you will, because if we are externally driven, and we certainly cannot control the external, then we are driven by something we have no control over. Therefore, we are never truly in charge. So, you are more than enough. You are that which you could be if you gave yourself permission to do so. If you're looking for more love in your life, perhaps there's a part of you that is not allowing him or herself to experience greater love. Why would that be? Well, perhaps there is an inner conditioning, an inner framework that says, I'm not enough. How could you possibly be not enough where you are part of all that exists? It's impossible. It's not possible to be not enough. It's impossible. So if we are feeling that we are not enough, yet we are more than enough, then that's a contradiction at its finest. What makes us deem that we are not enough. Nothing more, nothing less than our own human conditioning and programming. So today I have 3 piles for you. I don't know what the messages are. And the purpose of these piles is to share with you some information that will be helpful for you to break out of your old limiting habits. What are some of the things you need to look at? What are some of the things you might want to look at? You don't need to do anything. The universe doesn't need you to do anything. Get rid of the idea that you're supposed to do something. You're supposed to love and be loved. That's what you're supposed to be. You're supposed to be yourself. And if you are love, if you come from love, all you have to do is just be you. But if you deem yourself not enough, are you going to allow yourself to be you? Generally, that's not the case. If you would like to see what's coming up for you for 2023, I have over 12 and a half hours of predictions for each zodiac sign. The link is below. For those of you who already got them and send me your comments, thank you so much. Your comments are extremely valuable because it tells me that this is working. And most of the time, what I channel makes no sense to me, right? So thank you so much for your feedback. So let's look at your old programming, your individual programming or sets of programmings that are not allowing you to see you for who you really are, which is an embodied consciousness. And consciousness is all that exists. So let's look at pile number 1. What are some of the conditionings you need to know about yourself? We have fulfillment of wishes. And this is the traditional 9 of Cups in reverse. I'm not a tarot reader. I just look at pretty pictures and then I'm being given information visually or audibly what it is that I want to say. So this card represents your programming. And it's literally unfulfilled wishes. In reverse, it speaks to unfulfilled wishes. So first and foremost, the message I want to say about this is this. If you feel that there are some wishes that are yearning to be fulfilled, that there is something you want to experience, you want to ask yourself this fundamental question. What within me is preventing or standing in my own way of experiencing this in the now? Okay? In other words, why am I not allowing myself to feel or be fulfilled? Okay? Because as a soul, as the being beyond your physicality, you are everything and everybody. You are part of all that is. Therefore, the idea of fulfillment almost doesn't even exist because you're always all that. So if you're not allowing yourself to fulfill certain wishes, or if you're not allowing yourself to be fulfilled, the fundamental question you want to ask yourself is why? Why? Why are you not allowing yourself to have this fulfilled experience? I just heard I'm not allowed. Perhaps one of your conditioning is that you're not supposed to be fulfilled. It's selfish for you to be fulfilled. You're not allowed to feel happy. If you're happy, you're somehow, you shouldn't be happy. These programs exist. Are you playing too small in order to feel happy? Are you putting yourself in a box? Are you limiting yourself in a box? And as a result of being in a small box, you cannot attain your level of happiness or fulfillment. If that's the case, ask yourself this question. Why do I choose to do that? Let me make sure I say this very clearly. It is usually not a conscious choice. It is a subconscious choice. It is a choice that you are making due to your programming. Then we have to look at your programming and the systems, the conditioning systems that you are embodying that are standing in a way of you fulfilling your desires and fulfilling your happiness, fulfilling your wishes. The question you want to ask yourself often is, if my experience is something I co-create and I am not happy with what I am co-creating, why am I choosing, consciously or otherwise, usually unconscious, to create something I'm not happy with? And there's no such thing as, well, there's no reason for it. There's always a reason for it. You're just not aware of the reason, because the reason is hidden beyond your consciousness. You are always in a situation you find yourself in based on your conditioning and your programming. So this is very important information for you to consider looking at, okay? How am I standing in my own way of attracting more happiness, more love, more fulfillment, emotional fulfillment? What's in my way? What am I still holding on to for dear life that I'm not letting go of yet, that is preventing me from experiencing this other thing? Okay? How you feel about something is under your control. How you feel about something is under your control. The thing you want to look at is, how do you feel about yourself? Because how you feel about yourself will definitely, if not dictate, influence heavily what you create in your life. If you feel about yourself, for example, that you are not enough, because that seems to be the theme, then you have to look at the conditioning, at the structures of your own inner workings that tell you so. And by the way, your inner structures and your own conditioning and your belief systems are not you. They're fabricated. They're literally made up. Have they been made up eons of years ago and we just accepted it as our truth, so we look at it as truth? Yes, but they're still made up. If you feel that you are not enough, it's made up. It's not real. It's an illusion. What else would it be important for you to know? Coming to life. Literally, the message is that you want to contemplate is this: what's holding me back? Most importantly, the question could be, a better question could be, how am I holding myself back? How am I standing in my own way? And let's look at your programming, okay? There's an opportunity for you, pile number one, to come out of whatever situation you are in with a lot more awareness and a lot more freedom, emotional freedom, internal freedom, okay? And what I see happening for you, pile number one, is that you are going through a process of transformation. Transformation is not easy because it always affects the ego, and it generally has a lot to do with our shadows. So many of you, pile number one, are either working through some pretty deep shadows, or the universe is saying, hey, look at this shadow, because this shadow stands in the way of what you are desiring. Okay? Don't be afraid of your own shadows. A lot of people, I feel, are afraid of looking into shadows. Shadows are magnificent. Shadows, for the most part, help us survive. They're mechanisms that were developed generally in our younger age in order to help us survive in this 3D world. And though they have served us some time ago, we're outgrowing them. They're no longer serving us. In fact, they are limiting us. So shadow always has a purpose. shadow. In my work, for example, every single time I connect with a person to their shadow, and then they begin to see their shadow as their friend rather than a foe, then they're no longer fighting with their shadows, they're embracing their shadows. And that changes your entire perspective of you. Now, the moment you change your perspective of you, your world begins to change. Divine's message for you. Illusion. It's all an illusion anyway. You are in a world that has been constructed for a specific reason in order for you and I, all of us, to have a 3D experience. And though it seems real, it feels real, you can touch it, it's all an illusion. It is all the product of the greater mind and your mind. Okay? When you begin to understand that, when you begin to open yourself to it, when you begin to see the illusions for what they are, this is when you become more empowered. But I'm going to change the phrasing. It's not that you become more empowered. You begin to disempower yourself less. And when you disempower yourself less, you are automatically empowering yourself. Choose wisely in the way you see yourself and the way you speak to yourself with words or in your mind. For your vocabulary towards you or towards another, for that matter, makes a difference. Words are very powerful. Be okay with who you are, regardless of your judgments of who you are and where you are. Recognize your judgments as the byproduct of your shadow self, of your humanness. But you are more than a human, aren't you? Also, pile number 1, crystals are very important to you. If I were you, I would get yourself some clear quartz. Okay? They seem to be, they're healing. Obviously, quartz have a healing energy. Many of you in pile number 1 are in a process of establishing a new identity for yourself. And because of that, you will have a tendency to not even know how you feel. I don't know how I feel. I don't know how I feel. And not knowing how you feel is going to impact your decisions. Why? Because feeling is telling you a story. It's telling you what's going on. It's telling you your certain truth. And based on that truth, we can create an experience or we can make different choices. And if you're not knowing how you're feeling, making choices or decisions from that space can feel very scary because you're not sure what to choose. Make sure that whatever you are choosing or not choosing, for that matter, comes from a space of love, loving yourself and knowing that you are enough, versus coming from a space of scarcity. Because remember, scarcity is an illusion. It's all in a programming. Okay, we are all programmed to feel scarce on some level. Okay, it's part of the illusion of being in a 3D world. So, in case you wondered, is this real? Yes and no. Okay. And with that, this is all pile number 1. If you would like to see what's coming up for you for 2023, I have over 12 and a half hours of predictions for each zodiac sign. The link is below. For those of you who already got them and send me your comments, thank you so much. Your comments are extremely valuable because it tells me that this is working. And most of the time, what I channel makes no sense to me, right? So thank you so much for your feedback. Okay, pile number 2, continuing with the theme of you are more than enough. Let's see what the universe would like to share with you, okay? For some reason, pile number 2 got a lot more messages than pile number 1 and number 3. So if you're drawn to pile number 2, let's see what the messages are. But there's it feels like a lot. So one of the things I'm going to show you, that's beautiful. I'm going to show you the cards. 3 of Cups, celebration, and hope in this light, and I believe that's a star. Okay. So these are powerful, powerful messages. Let me share with you what I get from them. The reason why this is showing up is because whoever you are, pile number 2, is I see you leaving your own confinement. And that can be interpreted in many different ways. Now, because we are trying to understand why we do what we do, especially if that doing is giving us something we don't want. If you are currently finding yourself walking out of some sort of confinement, it is very important for you to realize the reasons behind you being in the confinement in the first place. Why? So that you don't repeat the same mistakes. Now, we're using the word mistakes in quotation marks because as far as the universe is concerned, there is no such thing as mistakes. Yes, we humans have a different spin on it. We can analyze it, overanalyze it. We have our morals, etc., etc. But as far as the universe is concerned, consciousness, God, Buddha, whatever you want to call it, there is no such thing as mistake. There is an opportunity, always an opportunity to learn something about yourself. So you are likely pile number 2, about to leave a certain confinement, or you are right in the process of leaving that confinement. And as a result of that, you are moving on. Okay, that's what the celebration is about. I'm not a tarot reader, so the traditional meaning doesn't apply here. This is what I'm seeing. Okay, and I'm giving you exactly what I'm seeing, what I'm being asked to give. It's not about overanalyzing and beating yourself up with respect to why you found yourself in a confinement in the first place. It's about knowledge and higher understanding. The purpose of our experience is to know ourselves. That is how we get to know ourselves, is through experience. I can tell you who you are, but if you are not experiencing that awareness, then it's just a thought. It doesn't really mean anything. I can tell you that you are powerful, but if you don't embody this powerfulness, if you don't experience this powerfulness, then me saying to you that you are powerful is just a thought. It's empty. It doesn't really mean a thing. Now, it doesn't mean a thing, but it doesn't really mean a thing, really. So we know ourselves through our experiences, and you are obviously going through some challenges right now, but these challenges are leading you to something far, far, far greater, far greater. And I feel that's why the light is here. What I want to say with this particular message is reach higher, reach higher, reach higher for yourself. If you believe that you are not blessed, I'm using these specific words. If you believe that you are not blessed, ask yourself the question, why? Why do you believe you're not blessed? In other words, what's wrong with you? And by the way, wrong is a quotation mark word, because how could there be anything wrong with you? You are part of all that exists. You are part of the universe itself. You are part of consciousness. You are perfect in every way. Your human conditioning may not say that right now. Its current version may not say that. But that's ultimately who you are. So a lot of energy that I'm feeling from pile number 2 has to do with reclaiming your own power, empowerment. Coming to certain awareness, coming to a certain level of awareness where you are choosing to no longer objectify yourself. I don't quite know what it means, but that's the words that want to come through me. You are choosing to not look at yourself as this two-dimensional picture. Instead, you are being guided to look at yourself from all different angles, 360 degrees. And then as you look at yourself from 360 degrees, notice what you see about yourself that you were not able to see before. And that will shed more light in terms of showing you who you really are. Okay? Practice self-healing. Let me ask what that means, what that's supposed to mean. Self-healing simply means, in this case, coming to a greater alignment, which means if we are being asked to practice self-healing, we are being asked to come to a greater alignment. If we are being asked to do that, then that logically means we are not in alignment with ourselves. So if we are not in alignment with ourselves, we are at odds with ourselves. So again, if we are at odds with ourselves, then the question is why? Why are you at odds with yourself? What are you at odds with? What is it about you that you don't like? What is it about you that you can't seem to accept or want to accept? Is it because you were led to believe that you are a bad person? You're neither good nor bad, you're everything, and everything in between. You're a potential. Bad, or good for that matter, is a human conditioned language. Okay? So the question for you guys, pile number 2, is to ask yourself these really important questions. Who am I? What do I believe with respect to the situation I'm about to leave, the confinement? And what do I choose for myself going forward? Do I choose... Okay, so here's interesting. Do I choose to treat myself as a criminal? And that's a very interesting way of giving a message, because if you think about the idea of a criminal, what generally is a criminal treated like, right? Well, as a criminal. Generally, we kind of, strip the criminal of certain things they can do or not do. In other words, we generally, through whatever mechanisms, I don't want to say punish the criminal, but we make sure that the criminal doesn't continue doing what he or she has been doing. We limit their freedom. So when they say stop treating yourself like a criminal, what they're really saying is stop limiting your own freedom. And if you are limiting your freedom, and chances are you are, because you're a human being, then the question then again becomes, why? Why would you choose to limit your own freedom? Perhaps you are afraid of being free. Now, why on earth would be afraid of being free? And that is a condition, by the way. It's very real for many people. Well, because if you're not used to feeling free and being free, if you're not used to making your own decisions, then freedom means you get to make your own choices and decisions. And that for many people can be and is very scary. Which means if you're not making your choices and your decisions, and this is usually done on an unconscious level, then who is? Who is making your choices and decisions for you? You know what it is? It's your programming. So if your programming is responsible for the choices you make or don't make, then we have to look at our programming. We have to look at our inner conditions. Don't rob yourself of the opportunity to know yourself more this year. Pile number 2. Okay? Let's see, what else do we have here? We have solitude and we have talisman, okay? And this is coming up in reverse. Again, I'm going to tune in and see what messages want to come through. I feel pile number 2. You are either isolating yourself, or there is a need for you to isolate yourself and almost be like your own little island. Why? In order to understand what makes you tick. In order to look at the perceptions you hold about yourself, in order so that you can understand more deeply who you are. If you are bombarded with the outside noise, which we are pretty much 24/7, some people sleep with TVs on or radios on. If we are bombarded with all the noise from the outside and we don't have the space required to go within, we are going to have a hard time going within and therefore knowing who we really are. And if there is a mechanism that's responsible for making your choices or not making your choices, then it behooves you to take the time and the space in order to learn that, to understand that about yourself, in order so that you can see it. Because what if there is a part of your programming that is stopping you or preventing you from, let's say, experiencing a lot of financial abundance? If this mechanism, if this belief system is within you and it's highly unconscious, and that mechanism is responsible in big way of how you create your life or what you invite into your life, then it only makes sense that in order for you to attract more abundance, you need to look at your programming. What does abundance mean to you? What beliefs do you have about financial abundance? Is one of your beliefs money's bad? We have a lot of programmings like that. I come from this very similar programming. Money, I had a lot of fears around money. I've talked about this before. I gave power to this thing we call money until one day my guide said, Joanna, it's just a piece of paper. Why do you give it so much power? And then I had to self-reflect. What does money mean to me? What are the stories around money? What are the stories around abundance? And then realize that, geez, I have a programming that says I'm not enough. And if I'm not enough, I'm going to hide. I'm not going to allow the world to see me in my fullness. I'm going to limit myself. I'm going to limit my own experiences. And part of those experiences will be experience of a financial abundance. So what's your truth about financial abundance, about money? I hear the word responsibility. Maybe it's too much responsibility to have a lot of money. Maybe there's a fear that once you have this financial abundance, it's going to be taken away. Again, if that is a belief system, you want to uncover it, because that belief system is going to stand in your way of attracting financial abundance, or anything else for that matter. Okay? So solitude. Right now, pile number 2, you're not trusting your path. And if you don't trust the path, you are going to resist it. And resistance is very painful. So there's a message here for you to look at your own resistance. What are you resisting right now? Are you resisting some fundamental change? Because let's face it, change is the one thing in life that's constant. That I can assure you of. Change is constant. So if you are trying to hold on to something that is changing, you're going to have a very difficult time letting go. So what is it that you are afraid to let go of? What are you afraid to let go of? Let's look at that. Because again, whatever it is that you are let go of, chances are it has to do with your inner programming, with your conditioning. Are you afraid that if you let that go, you're not going to have better, you're going to go without, you're not going to find happiness? Is that why? If that's the case, that's your programming. And again, your programming is not real. It's an illusion. It's all made up. But if you're unaware of your all made up programming, you will not be able to make up new programming. And that's ultimately what we want. We want to reprogram ourselves so that we can experience our greater versions. That's where you are, pile number 2. In a process of experiencing your greater version, but you first have to allow yourself to let go of the old version. Okay? What our message is, what divine wants you to know. We have personal power in reverse. Do I even need to say what it means? You draw your own conclusion, but basically what it means is that you are not in your own power right now. In fact, some of you are refusing to embody your true power. If that's the case, again, the question is why? You have your reasons. We all have a reason. It generally is not a reason we can see or logically find. It's generally an deeply conditioned unconscious reason, but I guarantee you there's always a reason. And it all goes back to programming and conditioning. The universe wants you to experience more of your own power. The power you already have. You don't have to buy it. You don't have to sell yourself for it. You don't have to bargain for it. You don't have to beg for it. You don't have to, validate yourself for it. You already are. You already are. So if you are not embodying this power, if you are not experiencing your powerfulness, which, by the way, if I was to show you all the experience you have created using your power, you would understand, holy shit, I'm a powerful person. The only problem is that I am creating from a disempowered state, and I'm using my power to stay disempowered. It's paradoxical, isn't it? We live in a paradox. Okay, that's what I have for you. Pile number 2, powerful message. If you would like to see what's coming up for you for 2023, I have over 12 and a half hours of predictions for each zodiac sign. The link is below. For those of you who already got them and send me your comments, thank you so much. Your comments are extremely valuable because it tells me that this is working. And most of the time, what I channel makes no sense to me, right? So thank you so much for your feedback. Okay, pile number 3, let's see what Source Universe has for you. Let's look at the first message. What would be important for you to know right about this time? We have the Chariot or Triumph in this deck, okay? July may be an important month for you. I'm just seeing the number 7. This could be your birthday. This could be a July that passed, that somehow it's important, or one that's upcoming. There's something specific about July, and it has to do with commitment. Okay, so that's its own little message. Pile number 3. It feels like things are not going your way. What if your way is not the most optimal way for you? What if your way is something that has been conditioned and you are outgrowing the old conditioning and the old ways? And the purpose of this message, pile number 3, is to help you trust the process. Even though it may feel like it's not going your way. And that's because your view of what's happening right now is very narrow. Okay? Our view of our situation is very narrow. If you were to look at your situation from a much higher perspective, you would then see that what you are experiencing right now, even though it's seemingly not the experience that you would want for yourself, you would see very clearly that this is exactly what you need right now. And it's like trying to fit a square into a circle. You can try to shove it as much as you can. One, you're not going to be able to do it because it's not a fit. Sorry, not a fit. Or you're going to break something in the process. To make it fit, in order to make it fit, you're going to break something. Okay? And I just want to say there's no need to break anything other than your own habits and your old, deeply rooted, unconscious limiting conditionings. Okay? Let me just see if there's anything else. I want to say here is trust the process. And I've been there before. I know what it's like where you are in the middle of a process. Something is unwinding or unfolding, and it is not the direction in which you're steering. And your ego wants things in a certain way because it projects its own beliefs and understanding into that situation. And you're trying to make it be a certain way, and it's not happening. And that's because the greater version of you that knows you more than you currently know yourself is driving the vehicle, if you will. And he or she knows exactly what you need and where you are going. So you are going through a process of dismantling right now. What does it mean to dismantle? To take things apart. So there are some things in your life that are being taken apart. And as these parts are being taken apart, you can see better what is broken. What are the pieces that are broken? What are the pieces that are no longer working? And this is all to do with conditioning and beliefs. What are the aspects of yourself that you have been hiding from? And now it's time for those aspects of yourself to come in the open so that you can experience profound healing. This to me is indicating a lot of shadow work. Collectively speaking, we are going through a lot of shadow right now. Collectively, we are working through our collective shadows. And it's each person's responsibility to look at their own shadows. Okay? Shadows are always rooted in limited thinking, limited beliefs. Okay? They're saying, ironically, shadow is nothing to be afraid of. Shadow is simply an aspect of you trying to keep away from yourself. So the question is this for you, pile number 3. What are you keeping from yourself? What is it that you don't want to know about yourself or the situation? In other words, how are you denying your own truth? And be willing to look at that. As uncomfortable as it may be when you are in that process, it is ultimately what's going to free you from your own suffering. Okay? Whatever it is that you are experiencing. Who am I? What do I believe myself to be? And what choices do I make or not make with regards to who I believe myself to be? In other words, your choices and your decisions are directly tied to what you believe about yourself. Okay? If you are trying to force a situation and it is not working, or things are going that are not according to what you planned or envisioned, you might want to ask yourself a deeper question. You might want to ask yourself this question. If this is not unfolding the way I want to see it unfold, then what is it potentially that's happening in the background that I don't know about yet that could be potentially even greater? And see what comes to you when you ask yourself that question. By asking this question, you are opening a certain door of perception. You are allowing yourself the opportunity to see that there is some other possibility that you may not have thought of yet before, or thought of before, okay, or thought of yet. And when that happens, it's like a door opens up and evolution happens in that moment. You begin to awake. You begin to experience some other truth, some other version of your reality, ultimately opening up doors to other experiences. Okay? So that's the first message. What's the second message? We have the card of home. Okay? It's also in reverse. And by the way, number 2 and 7 comes to 9, which tells me that you are letting go of some fears or beliefs around safety and security of being in your own body. Okay? So if you have been abused, mistreated in some way, shape, or form, which we all have to some degree, some of those experiences, because of those experiences, you deemed that it's not safe for you to be in your body. And when you are not in your own body, you are generally a lot more in your head. You're in your thinking. And fear comes from this. Fear doesn't come from your heart. Fear comes from the intellect, okay, from your thoughts. Your heart doesn't think, your heart feels. Okay? Your heart is enormous, but your thoughts about what's going on and the environment and your situation puts a shield around this heart so that you are not open, so that you are not hurt. So there is some hurtful stuff that's still in your background that you haven't fully dealt with yet. One of the things that will be helpful to you is to remember that part of your experience, a big part of your experience is on this earth is to express love, be loved and love as much as we can. That is truly why we're here. One of the core beliefs, pile number 3, not all of you, but looks like if you chose pile number 3, this is the theme. You have some fears around being loved, not being loved, not qualifying to be loved, not being enough to be loved, loved conditionally. There are some structures, some beliefs around your idea of being loved or being enough to be loved. Again, I am going to remind you, how on earth could you not be enough of being loved when you are love within yourself? If you believe that you are not enough to be loved, you are a walking contradiction. Of course you're at war with yourself. So now the question is, what do you choose? What do you choose to do with your belief system? Since your belief system is proportionally, directionally opposite of what is the greatest truth or greater perspective, and I'm not asking you to believe it, but if you are listening to this channel, chances are, at least intellectually speaking, on some level you know this intellectually to be truth. You may not feel it, you are not embodying it, but on some level you know it. You've heard it enough to know that it somewhere it exists. You're just not being that. Okay? You are loved unconditionally. The universe loves you unconditionally. We humans experience conditional love. We'd like to say that we experience unconditional love, but I'm sorry to say, our love is often very conditional. And the ego will fight that. No, I love unconditionally. Yeah, right. If you're being honest with yourself, you would see how many conditions you have put on the idea of love. So let's be honest. Why don't we? Let's be honest for a moment. What conditions have you put on yourself? What conditions environment has put on you in terms of being loved? Being enough to be loved? Deserving or undeserving not loved? Whatever delusion we bought into. You don't believe that you're deserving of love? Then ask yourself the fundamental question which reveals the real truth. Who are you? Because if you are not embodying the love that you are, then that means that you are conditioned to think of yourself as something different. So now you have two truths. One you're conditioned to believe, and one that is ultimate truth. Which do you choose? And don't say you can't choose. Of course you can choose. Isn't this a choice? It's a choice of perspective. It's a choice in the way you choose to understand something. Choose. Do you want to feel not good enough? Do you want to feel undeserving? Do you want to feel less than? Do you want to feel like you have to somehow be approved of love? Do you want to choose that? Or do you want to choose the awareness that you are love? You are it. You are it. Choose. No one will fault you for choosing this way or that way. Also, there is no wrong way to choose. Whatever you choose will give you the corresponding experience, and that's the power of it. That's the beauty of it. Whatever you choose will give you the corresponding experience. So what about yourself are you not choosing to accept that is giving you a limited experience? Something to think about. Source's message for you. Are you freaking kidding me? You guys, seriously. These cards were all down. I didn't look at them for a reason. I didn't want my brain to kick in. This literally is, I don't think I could make this up. It's all about love. It's all about self-love. It's all about realizing that you are love already. And if you don't believe in that, look at your conditioning. What does your conditioning tell you about who you are? You're none of that. It's all made up. It's all made up. It was made up for you and you accepted it as your truth. But now that you know, make up a different truth. Create a different truth for yourself. Start a new belief system. How? Simple but not easy. Stop practicing the limited view of yourself. Stop practicing limiting yourself. Stop practicing repeated to yourself that you are not good enough. Stop telling yourself that you are not worthy. Stop that. The moment you stop degrading yourself is the moment where you will rise to the occasion. Make no mistake, you are part of unconditional love. You are part of it, which means you are of it, which means you are it. And if this is not how you see yourself, let's look at your own version of what you believe and then decide which version takes me more towards more of what I want. Now remember, what you believe is powerful, powerful. What you believe is powerful. What you believe is reflected on everything that you do and don't do. The question for you, pal number 3, is What do you choose to believe in terms of being loved, being worthy of love, being more than enough to be loved, and so on and so forth? How do I not love myself? How do I stand in my own way of accepting myself unconditionally, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Because until you do embrace all of you, all the different parts of you which serve a purpose, until you embrace and accept all of it, you are always going to be walking around trying to fit yourself in some box in order to be loved, in order to belong, in order to be accepted. Why? Because you are not loving and accepting yourself first and foremost. Why rob yourself of that gift? Why would you want to rob yourself of that gift? I'm sure you have your reasons. Then look at them and ask yourself, is this worth keeping? Is this belief worth keeping? Is it giving me more of what I want? I'll tell you one thing. If you insist on believing that you are not worthy to be loved, or that you somehow need to prove yourself to be loved, you will keep creating experiences where the idea of unworthiness will be shoved in your face over and over again, and you will constantly be trying to prove yourself to be enough. The only person you need to prove that you're enough to is you. But here's the thing. There is a part of you, deep inside of you, that already approves. All you have to do is just accept it. Okay? There's nothing greater than giving yourself the gift of love. To remind yourself who you are. To remind yourself why you're here in the first place. You're here to be love, and to love, and to give love, and to receive love, to make love go around. If we had the entire population of humanity share and give love to each other, would we live with hate? Not a chance. So this is your message pile number 3. Thank you so much, everybody. If you would like to see what's coming up for you for 2023, I have over 12 and a half hours of predictions for each zodiac sign. The link is below. For those of you who already got them and send me your comments, thank you so much. Your comments are extremely valuable because it tells me that this is working. And most of the time, what I channel makes no sense to me, right? So thank you so much for your feedback. People ask me often, a lot actually, do you have private sessions? Yes, I do, absolutely. If that is what you feel drawn to, the link is down below. I look forward towards your comments. May you always remember that you are loved unconditionally. And I look forward to seeing you again. Take care. Bye-bye.